Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you're writing a book.
Yes, man. I thought that too many times things happen and it is not noted or stated or put in the archives. And I reckon that a person like yourself, who has an archive all on its own, and you're a walking dictionary on music and musicians and so on. So I have enough information to put out a life story, also parts of other people's lives who I was involved with, professionally or otherwise. But I think whoever has any knowledge or history in this business, particularly in our business,
Yes.
To document it and to keep it until such time when you can categorize it, chapterize it, then it'll take a couple of years, but you've got facts. Many times, I mean, there's been so many deaths in show business, nobody's written about it. The Davy Claessens of the world, the Al Hendrickses of the world, who played major roles in South African show business, you know. Also a guy, Victor Sampson, he was the Johnny Mathis of Africa. He was the closest thing to Johnny Mathis that I've ever heard. He died a pauper. His daughter, Vicky Sampson, is now carrying on the legacy. And I think she's learnt from his mistake by getting in there and doing it. And she's a very positive artist with positive ideas, you know. So that's one of the artists who's learnt from others. But one has to document it so that these kind of pitfalls are avoided immediately. You can read about it, you don't have to go there. Don't waste your time, you waste years going there, man. That's I have to experience it myself. It could kill you, that experience. Know that there's an experience like that and carry on positively on the other side. Don't go in there. So documenting history, essay history, musical history is a very good thing. It's a very good thing.
So this book you're writing, or planning to write, is going to be about you and about your experiences through the South African music scene, including the people you met and worked with.
It will be especially about people that I worked with.
Yes.
Reason being, like I said, these people are sometimes just forgotten. You know. Meanwhile, you've been kind of riding the crest of a wave, and the wave is actually a whole bunch of people that has been keeping you there, helping you along there, and sharing that thing with you. So I reckon if you give credit where credit is due, there's the Sophia Fosters of the world, there's the Leslie Kleinschmidts of the world, Vernon Castle, Robbie Jansen. Okay, Robbie Jansen has got his thing going, but we are talking about competent artists who they probably have a huge history in the business, but nobody's bothered to get down to it seriously. I suppose if you look at this business serious enough, because it's a really shit business, you know, to survive. To survive this business and still be working at a ripe old age is something in this country, because opportunities are very few, far between. Very few.
So would you say that people who've made it this far, thus far, are...
Nothing can stop them now.
And also that they ought to be congratulated for surviving.
Absolutely. Oh man, you have to grow. You have to have a reinforced cranium to survive this business. You know, first and foremost, you have to survive the business, because in our case, in most of our cases, who I have mentioned, we are non-white artists. Okay, so that's a problem. And on the other side, we are not black enough to be recognized in this country as South African artists who also battled and struggled to break these barriers that was put and built in front of us. We had a tough time doing that. But I would say in the post-apartheid era, we were not white enough, not black enough. So the government gives you a little, here you are, that's for you for being colored. And if you just be very careful, because if we take that away from you, then you might as well just go and live in the projects, you know. So those were the choices. The choices were nothing on the one side, or nothing on that side, or this is what we give you, you can take it. And those were the things. Our artists aren't in the category of the world-class artists for one reason only. Because when they go on stage, they're not thinking about what they have to do, they're thinking about tomorrow's rent and the next day's food and how they're going to get to the next gig. We don't get paid enough, they don't get revered enough, they don't get the deserved accolades, because there are so many prostitutes in show business, managers, agents, directors, all those kind of people with the little things behind their names. They are the people who stuff us around, you know. They screw us around forever and ever instead of helping us. They can't take that workload off you where you can go on stage and say, hey, I'm going to be performing tonight because it's going to be great to be performing tonight. All I have to do is think about my songs and give it over to the audience. No, do you know what you have to think about? You have to think, yes, hey, you know what? Am I going to have another gig? When am I going to have another gig? I might as well just try and do my very best here, because this will pay the rent, that'll pay that debt collector and this. So our minds are never at peace when we are working. And if we had that peace of mind, we'd be much better artists. And people would be looking at us and saying, there's a potential a winner, you know. No, we are always potential laborers. And if you get promoted, you are a professional laborer. You never become a total professional. You always have that thing you have to go back to, you know. For some of us, it's been a little bit more fortunate. But like I said, you have to grow a thick skin. And that's what they would call being fortunate, you know. You're being hard-headed, no nonsense, and believe me, for the attitude, you get shut out for that attitude. For instance, the late Taliep Peterson, he was he was the epitome of what we're talking about. He was, as far as he was concerned, there's no open door. You have to kick the door down to keep it open, you know. And when you get through that door, make sure that they're not going to push you through the other side again. Make it known there. You kick the door down because they've overlooked you. They keep on shutting the door in your face. So kick it down so they can see you. And look, they saw him, and he became one of our icons in this country, with world-class plays and musicals, you know. That is because people used to call him dogmatic, hard-headed, all kinds of things.
I've heard the word arrogant.
Arrogant, arrogant. Yes. It wasn't that. Those are all defenses that we put up. We go in there and we immediately have our guard up and say, you can do what you want. You're not going to push me through that door again. You know. That was it. That was our protection. That was his protection. And that protection was just enough time for them to realize they're making a mistake by ignoring him. You know? So,
what was your relationship with Taliep?
We were very close. I mean, besides a good few friends that I have grown up in this business with, only a few that I grew very attached to. I'm still very attached to them today. Taliep was somebody different because we were both we are both Cape Townians. We're Muslim, which in another, being Muslim in this business is another thing, you know, because there's, not being white is a problem, not being black is a problem, being colored is a huge problem, being a Muslim colored, oh dear God, please man, you know what I mean, it's most cuck man, you know, you don't, but that is just to explain to you, that's not easy at all, being Muslim guys in this business, and we all our friends are of mixed race, you know, we've got pink, blue, purple and green people as friends, so we cannot make no you know, chalk and cheese. These are all musicians, and fortunately, you know as well as I know that musicians have a different law amongst themselves when it comes to the real thing. We can stand behind one another and we can boost each other up because we know how short of those things we are, so we try and do it for each other. But Taliep, as a for instance, my relationship with him was that of absolute trust in the business. Yes. He trusted me implicitly, I trusted him implicitly. We like I said to you before, we did many shows together, and the trust and the respect that existed between the two of us, I wouldn't say to him, hey, you know what, you're great and just blah blah blah. No. He would see when I speak to him, and I would see when he speaks to me, that we had an absolute and complete trust and respect for each other in the business, because we've both survived the business more than 30 years. You know, I'd like to say that in that 30 years of this business, the 30 years, it's closer on to 40 years that I spent with him in the business, we never had no bad words to say. We were absolute rivals on stage.
Yes,
oh boy, make no error, you know.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh dear me, the professional thing never took a backseat.
Wasn't that healthy though?
It was very healthy. For me it was very healthy. For him it was exceptionally healthy. Because from there he decided, he was a good artist, a good performer.
Did you think he used you as a yardstick to measure?
I reckon we did it to each other.
Yeah.
I reckon we did it to each other in a nice way, in the best possible way we could have done it.
So that brought out the best in both of you?
Oh dear me, did it. It was like a rivalry, a built-in rivalry, unspoken, picked up by the people at large, and then it's clan against clan, you know, Muslim clans, you know what I'm saying? So that Laksharama thing was like the palace of entertainment for the two of us. I think of all the local artists, we did the very best there, financially, musically, personally, professionally. We made the Laksharama go really strong because it was competition.
There is rumor that he came off second best every time, and he had an envy. I say this in you know, in a nice sort of way.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I would like to say this, that it is to me, as he's a great friend, I knew that he was more of a performer than an actual stand-up English vocalist, English singing vocalist. In the Afrikaans language, he was a master of his art. He could really sing the liedjies, you know, and he was a good teacher, combined chorus teacher, Nederlands lied, comic songs. He was into that because his roots were that. Mine as well. We both come from the Malay choir boards teams. My uncle was a captain and the boss of the team. Yes, with the red fezzes and the whole thing, yeah. And the blazers, beautiful blazers, and very, very. and voice is beautiful, but he came from the same cloth.
Yes.
Yeah, same. His father was like in that business. The difference between us is that I immediately concentrated on English songs because to me that's where the business was of it. He concentrated on that side, knowing that this will always happen. Every year it comes around, and it was almost a security to him, and he branched out from there into the Western type show business. And I was established as an artist quite a while before. I was one of those, I don't give a damn, you can't keep me out of this, I'm on a breakthrough here, you know, you can send the lawyer, but not before you've heard me, and or before you saw us perform. Whether it was a group, or a band, or myself, I just didn't give in, you know. Taliep realized that his love was in the theatre. He realized at a very early age that his love was in the theatre. I think his early 20s, when Pippin came along and stuff like that. And Maseru and Botswana and those places were places where these plays were taking place in the conference centres and rooms. So he knew from a long time ago that he was in the theatre is where his forte was. So he didn't concentrate that much on being as an upfront vocalist. Yeah. Although he did a lot of those things, I concentrated on it. I concentrated and I bedded it. And still today, without a doubt.
Would you say that his strengths lay in the songwriting and the background and arranging?
Yes. He's definitely the administrative type of person in the show business. The producer type guy, the songwriter type guy. What does one say? Managing is not his side of the business. He wants to be actively involved in
the artistic
parts. Yeah. So let me just assure you of one thing. He could go on any stage in this country and turn the audience upside down because he just had it in him. This thing of his, he was a clean living boy. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, and he didn't lie. You know? There's another guy who's almost the same like him, Sammy Hartman. Doesn't smoke, doesn't lie, doesn't screw around. He has a little drink now and then, never loses control. And Taliep was one of those kind of guys, very considerate type in the business. Down the line, there had to be somebody that's sober that could do this thing, and he was the epitome of it. It paid off in the end to him. It paid off in the end. He like we said, besides dying in the most brutal fashion that I could ever imagine, he's left enough behind for people to chew on for another 100 years, you know. And I think if it comes to doing your job on earth, he's certainly had a good go at it, and he's done it. There are lots of people who are there because he made it possible for them, through the grace of God, you know.
Do you think it's ironic that his last show
was with his son?
Yeah. And also that it was of the music that he grew up with, and both you and he came up with, and the show was part of the history of that type of music. It seems ironic that it would be his last one.
I reckon that the things that happened on the way to his death, from the time he left London, in fact from the time he left Cape Town for London, the last time he spoke to me, until the time he came back, It was almost a series of events that if you were a seer, you would have read it.
Is there any truth in the rumor that he asked you to pray with him because he felt that your lives or our lives were short?
Yes. Oh yes.
Was that true?
Oh yes, that was very true. Before he left for London, he said, I was talking to him about some things about renovating a little bit on the house and making things sort of comfortable. And he knows the last house I had really made very comfortable. So I was talking about it, and he said to me, you know what, Maparu, don't worry about the dunya, don't worry about the earth so much, about the earthly things so much. He said, we must give more time to our Creator, you know, give more time to our Creator. And as I'm sitting here now, I know exactly what he meant. I know exactly what he meant. And that statement that he made then, that statement was made 2 or 3 days before he went to London.
Right.
To put his show up at the Tricycle.
This was just before December 2006.
Oh yes, it was just before that. And then the series of events that followed, how he appeared to be in London when he said goodbye to them to come back to Cape Town again and stuff like that. From what I've heard, my niece was also there, and I actually have a statement and a couple of photos.
Who is your niece?
My niece is Lamise.
Oh.
Lamise, yeah. She works there. You know, she works in London. She's just been back for a couple of days. She's back there again, but she had an interview with him just before he died, before he left London.
Was she the journalist with the tape recorder?
That's right.
Ah,
okay, yes. So,
so she has the last interview.
She had that interview there, and like I said, his performance with his kid, the fact that I had to meet him on Wednesday after his the incident. The fact that he mentioned, well, I told him that I have a play that I'd like to share with him as a third shareholder in the play, and he said when he gets back, when this thing's been launched, there we'll sit down and talk about it. You see, so I never got to talk to him about it. He knows about it. We spoke a little bit about this thing before we actually agreed to come together and speak about what we're going to do about it. So, like I said, the series of events was like so much like he knew.